An internal Department of Homeland Security document obtained by NBC News shows DHS officials were instructed to make sympathetic public comments about Kyle Rittenhouse, the 17-year-old who was accused of fatally shooting two protesters in Kenosha, Wisconsin back in August. The DHS document is a list of media talking points about Rittenhouse, encouraging officials to say in part that he, quote, took his rifle to the scene of the rioting to help defend small business owners. For more on this, let's bring in NBC News correspondent Julia Ainsley, who broke this story. Julia, good morning. This is pretty troubling. I mean, what else were officials told to say about Rittenhouse?
Well, Kasie, as you know, President Trump has been very sympathetic to Kyle Rittenhouse, coming out very much before we had many facts, saying that he was someone who should be supported. Now what these talking points show is that those same sympathetic ideas were being pushed to law enforcement officials within DHS who we would expect to have more information before they go out and make statements like this. In addition to the talking point about him wanting to go and support small businesses, they talk about how video evidence shows that he was being chased and how it looked like this was a matter of self-defense. They talk about how they should push back on media talking points that he was this police-obsessed lone wolf, someone who didn't know what he was doing, that they should be pushing back against anything and really trying to speak favorably about him. It's interesting because at that point, we really didn't even have an investigation. Right now, Kyle Rittenhouse has been charged with multiple homicides. His lawyers are arguing he was acting in self-defense. But at this point, these talking points were going out in the immediate aftermath. And as we know, law enforcement officials are usually very reticent to ever talk about an ongoing investigation, primarily one that they have nothing to do with, as DHS was. DHS was, of course, trying to be involved in protests, to talk about how they were quelling civil unrest. But in Kenosha, Wisconsin, particularly with the case of Kyle Rittenhouse, they didn't have a role. So the fact that these talking points were going out to DHS officials to talk about Kyle Rittenhouse in this sympathetic and favorable light shows how lockstep the political talking points of the White House are with DHS, which traditionally should be a law enforcement organization. And when those officials come out and talk to the media, they should be standing on their own intelligence and information. And if they don't have it, they usually stay back.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like an extraordinary example of the politicization here. Do we know how these talking points were generated? Was the White House directing them to do this? I mean, as you point out, I mean, I can't tell you the number of times I've asked officials to comment on something like this, and they come back and they say, well, we can't comment on an ongoing investigation.
Yeah, of course, Kasie. We've run into that all of the time. Even if it's an investigation where it's playing out in court, where we have more of the details, they don't comment on it. So at this point, we don't know if these started at the White House or within DHS. But I will say, just from speaking to people who have been on the receiving ends of these in this administration and the Obama administration, even the Bush administration, they say it's common to get political talking points from the White House on certain issues, but not ongoing investigations. And they say that these could have generated within DHS, but also that the press shops between the two talk very frequently. There's a lot of communication going on right now, and they don't put that usual red tape around those investigations that we would expect them to.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.